Hey, gang. Happy 4th. Hello, hello. More about this in a moment. Is that reversed when you look at it? Web designer wins right to turn away gay people. She'll be on my program today on CNN. First, Michiganders. Happy 4th. Play Gun Lake Casino. If you're in Michigan, Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app follows you to the beach, the barbecue, the lake, Mackinac Island. Yeah, love Mackinac Island. Haven't been there in a couple of years. With odds and slots and bets and games all in the palm of your hand, the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app. All your favorite casino games that you can take on the go. Michigan's a beautiful state. Love Michigan. Love, love, love Michigan. New users, join me right now. Get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. Roulette, Baccarat. Why do I struggle with that word? Papadopoulos, Baccarat. Well, fun game. Texas Hold'em, all the good stuff, all your favorite casino games. New users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. New users only. Casino bonus has to be wagered. See the website at playgunlake.com for details. Terms and conditions apply. Got to be 21 and in Michigan. Gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER. Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline, 1-800-270-7117. Are you extremely proud of your country? Are you extremely proud of your country? I did a video on this yesterday, and I mentioned it kind of in passing, but it's a fun subject to think about for the July 4th weekend, because Gallup had data that said we're at a historic low for the number of people who are extremely proud about their country. When I delved into it, I don't know that the headline was warranted, because yes, it's literally true. But when you combine very proud and extremely proud, you get 68%. Let's call it 7 in 10 Americans who say, yeah, I'm damn proud of this country. I think that's a lot. And I don't think that we have a right to question the patriotism of those who are not proud. I was reading some of the comments that are flying by me right here on the chat. When you take a look at the numbers by political affiliation and age, there are distinct trends. The biggest differentiator is that more Republicans than Democrats say they're extremely proud of their country. And I can imagine, some GOPers like kicking sand in the face of the Democrats and saying, America, love it or leave it. But I think there's nothing more patriotic than rolling up your sleeves and being invested in fixing your country. So if today you are not extremely proud to be an American, I'm not questioning your patriotism. That's what I wanted to say. I was just reading Josh Gerstein's piece from Politico about the Supreme Court. It's posted at Smerconish.com, and when the newsletter comes out in a couple of minutes, it will be in the newsletter today. I think Josh does a very nice job at Politico writing about the Supreme Court of the United States. And he mentions that in the last couple of weeks, Chief Justice Roberts was like showing his moderate cred. He broke with his own history as a voting rights case author, took the helm of the 5-4 decision that sided with black voters in a voting rights case that challenged alleged racial gerrymandering. Then he refused to embrace the independent state legislature theory, talked about that on radio this week. In other fractured decisions where he rebuffed adventurous conservative legal arguments, he voted with the liberals to sustain President Biden's immigration policy and uphold the Indian Child Welfare Act. Aha. But then in the last 2 days of the court term, bang, affirmative action, bang, the student debt forgiveness, and bang, this case, the web designer who won her right to refuse to provide service to a same-sex couple, in a hypothetical, because this was anticipatory because of the public accommodation law in Colorado. So what's my point? My point is that Chief Justice Roberts was not an ideologue when viewed in the totality of what just took place during the course of the term, but these 3 big decisions at the end just underscoring, and these will be the first words out of my mouth today on CNN, elections have consequences. and perhaps none more so recently than the 2016 election, which elected Donald Trump. And of course, Donald Trump appointed 3 conservatives to the Supreme Court of the United States who are the reason why these cases ended the way that they ended. Now, page 1 of the Times today, I'm still confused as to whether this is reversed when you see it. But what's the headline? Web designer wins right to turn away gay people. I don't know what you did last night, but I was reading Justice Gorsuch's majority opinion and Justice Sotomayor's minority opinion in the Webb case. And I'm so glad that I did, because based on what I'd read in the stories, superficially, I thought this was all about sort of speech on one hand and religious liberty on the other, both, by the way, emanating from the First Amendment. But I thought those were the competing interests. Having read the case, that is not how I see it. In other words, you'll hear this case cast as one of a woman, because of her religious belief, doesn't recognize same-sex marriage and therefore doesn't want to work on behalf of a same-sex couple. And all of that is true. But Gorsuch's opinion, and I think this is where the slippery slope is really going to come in, Gorsuch's opinion was much less predicated on her faith than just the fact that she has a free speech right. And if you regard, and this is also a really big point that I hope to make today, if you regard her web design, like the baker, like the florist, as being speech, and that was something Colorado conceded, big mistake, Colorado, but if you regard that as speech, then said Gorsuch, well, you can't force her to say something she doesn't believe. And that's the bottom line of the case. So where her belief came from was secondary. See, I went into the opinion thinking somebody's just going to, make up some fakakta religion and say, well, I believe in this based on my faith, and therefore I'm uncomfortable doing that. And I thought, how are religions now going to be policed? Oh, your faith won't allow you to provide service at this lunch counter. Your faith won't allow you to provide a room at your Airbnb, whatever the hypothetical might be. But no, it's not. If my guest, Lori Smith, if Lori Smith had not been a person of faith, and I might put this to her attorney just for some clarity, but if she had not been a person of faith and simply take out religion and simply said, I'm not cool with the same-sex couple because I just don't think that's right. Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, or some such thing. Not even grounded in religion. My own sense of morality, she says. I think the case would have ended the same way. So, wow, that really gives license, doesn't it, in a public accommodation setting for business owners just not to comply. And therefore, the court, by this logic, and this is what Sotomayor has said, that for the first time, the Supreme Court has given permission to discrimination against a protected class. It's I have to say, it's a really interesting opinion. And I think that both sides wrote for the masses, probably knowing, sometimes these Supreme Court opinions are really in the weeds. But I think that both sides in this case, much like affirmative action, holy crap, that was like 240 pages, wrote knowing that a lot of Americans would be willing to take the time and invest themselves in the opinion. Something else that I want to say on television today, and I'll say it to you in advance, is that lawyers, courts, law schools love hypotheticals. It's like, oh yeah, well, what if it were this? And in the opinion, both sides have hypotheticals that suit their interests. It's a complicated case. It's a very complicated case. So I'm looking forward to having the person in the eye of the storm. It's kind of interesting because you might be thinking, hey, didn't we already have this case? And wasn't it a Colorado case like the baker The baker is 5 miles away from the website designer. And when the Baker case was resolved by the Supreme Court, that was 2018, they didn't specifically address the issue of a First Amendment speech right being curtailed by a public accommodation law. And that's why they felt the need to, come back. Next up, by the way, will be the candlestick maker from Colorado, 7 miles away from the web designer. Whack, whack. Hello. Everybody okay so far? I mean, Madison Badger makes reference to Bud Light. I mean, I just saw in one of the items that I was reading this morning how there is an enormous inventory on the street. Go to your local distributor of Bud Light. People just will not buy Bud Light. And it's being discounted, like save $15 on this, case or couple of cases of Bud Light. The level of, my attitude. You know my attitude. Like, who gives a shit? Bake the cake. Make the website. What are you kidding me? Just this. You're in business. You're a pharmacist. Guess what? You're a pharmacist. People are going to come in seeking to fulfill prescriptions of birth control. And if you're not cool with that, maybe you shouldn't be a pharmacist. Like, there are other things you could do. Like, that's my view of it. But I need to be reminded that these are really hot button issues for a lot of Americans who have made a choice to buy Modelo and not Bud Light. I say buy Sculpin. Buy whatever you want. I don't know. I'll say this, and it's a holiday weekend, and frankly, I need some beer. I'm out of beer. I'm not out of beer, but I'm like down to a 6-pack at home. If I go to a distributor this weekend and I see Bud Light that's $15 off, whatever the the packing might be, I'm buying it. It's a little light for my tastes. Okay, it's not hoppy enough, but I'm buying it. If I see it for $15 off, I'm buying the beer. Oh, I got to tell you something else. This is really great. You're all reading these travel nightmare stories, right? About flights canceled and people who are really getting jammed up. I said to TC on air this week, like, what happened to the days when you would get on an airplane? We had a story about a guy who a flight gets delayed and he's the only one who sticks it out. And by the time the flight takes off, I think it was like 18 hours later, he has the entire plane to himself. So with flying and travel and the holiday weekend on the brain, I saw this story recently. It was both at NJ.com, but it was the Washington Post that broke it initially, about a 69-year-old guy from Jersey named Tom Stuker, who I want to say back in like 1990 spent $500,000 on a United airline. I'm telling this a little sloppily, but you'll get the gist of it. He buys a pass and a companion pass for like $500,000, allowing him for the rest of his life to fly anywhere, anytime, first class. It ends up being a magnificent investment. He has flown like 23 million miles. Listen to this. In 2019, he takes 373 trips in 365 days. Like, all he does is fly. He travels 1.46 million miles. It would have cost him for that year alone $2.44 million. He just flies all over the place. And not only does he fly all over the place, but he also has been able to take advantage of the miles to get cash credit and get like a $50,000 gift certificate at Walmart. He was able to parlay this into a Seinfeld like cameo appearance in the episode where, I think it was the episode where George's wife or fiance dies because of licking envelopes. Like, he's in the background. How did he do that? Because of some auction where he cashed in his miles. I've been so eager to chat with him. He will be my guest on the program today. That's a great element. relative to the website designer, there's been so much action recently in state legislatures against the trans community. Arkansas had an 8-day federal court trial weighing the constitutionality of that statewide ban against trans treatment for those 18 and under. I guess I should say under 18, minority status. The expert on whom the judge most relied in that case is going to be a guest of mine on CNN today and dispel some of the sort of myths that surround those whole issues. And then finally, Glenn Thrush from the New York Times talking about Hunter, the whistleblower, David Weiss, the U.S. attorney, and Merrick Garland, who are saying different things about the investigation of Hunter Biden and the Bidens generally that I don't think can be squared. You've got Shapley, who's the whistleblower, saying he was thwarted. You've got Merrick Garland saying that he gave a free hand to David Weiss. You have David Weiss saying in writing that he was given a free hand. But then you've got the New York Times, infamous paragraph 21, confirming part of Shapley's account. So, how do you put it all together? I don't know that it can be squared. There's a quote in Glenn's piece from a former U.S. attorney named John Fishwick, who said, "Is this just a disgruntled guy, Shapley, who didn't get his way, as happens in every investigation, or is there something else going on here?" And finally, if I might, and I think I know which way this case is going to be determined, but I'm making a point through the poll question that I'm asking today. And I'm asking this: which is having the greatest impact on American lives? Which is having the greatest impact on American lives? President Biden? And many people say, hey, Biden doesn't get credit for the things he's accomplished. Okay, is he having a greater impact on your life than Congress? Or is Congress having a greater impact on your life? Maybe you're going to say Congress is having a greater impact on my life because they are thwarting things that Biden does want to get done. Or is it option 3, the door in front of which Carol Merrill is standing, which says, no, it's the Supreme Court that's having the greatest impact on my life? What's having the greatest impact on your life? Go answer that, please, at Smerconish.com. While you're there, check out the new live TV and radio chat feature, which gives you the ability to put comments in chat. By the way, come on, don't be rude, all right? I don't mean toward me. I just mean toward one another and so forth. But be kind, as Mickey Hart would say. But check out the new chat feature, because we're going to try and keep an eye on it, not only during the radio program, but during the TV program as well. And if you post something there, I might say it on the air. New chat feature. Go to Smerconish.com, vote on the poll question, look at the toolbar, and you will see it. All right, that's it. I'll read your comments later, I promise. Have a wonderful and safe 4th, and I hope I see you on television today, 9 a.m., and as long as there's no breaking news, replay 3 p.m. Thank you, gang. I really do appreciate it.